Verstappen is not just angry because Red Bull is slow. He is angry because the car is fighting him. After years of domination, Red Bull has fallen to fourth fastest team status. Verstappen has only 55 points after 7 races. He has already suffered 2 retirements, qualified 8th in China, finished 8th in Japan, and called the RB22 completely undrivable. But the shocking part is this: the Ford power unit may not even be the real disaster. The deeper problem is the whole Red Bull system. An overweight chassis, steering that gives no confidence, failed aero upgrades, high-speed instability, a car so sensitive that setup changes barely give Verstappen a reference. This is not just a bad start. This is Red Bull's first real identity crisis of the new era. And if they cannot fix it fast, Verstappen may not be fighting for a championship. He may be fighting to believe in Red Bull at all. Subscribe to the channel. At first, the Red Bull crisis looked like a power unit story. That was the easy version. New era, new Ford partnership, new Red Bull powertrains project, new regulations, new pressure. Suddenly, the team that once dominated Formula One was no longer fighting at the front, and everyone wanted the simplest possible explanation. Blame the engine, blame the new badge, blame the risk Red Bull took when it decided to build its own future instead of rely on the old structure that had carried it through years of winning. It sounds clean, it sounds dramatic, it sounds obvious, but the data tells a more uncomfortable story. The Ford name is attached to the crisis, but the core problem is not simply the Ford branded power unit. The real issue is deeper, wider, and much harder to repair. Red Bull has not lost one part of the car. It has lost the harmony between parts. That is why Verstappen's anger matters so much. When a driver complains about power, you can search for horsepower. When a driver complains about balance, you can search for setup. When a driver complains about tires, you can search for degradation, pressure, or temperature. But Verstappen did not just say the car was missing one thing. He said it was completely undrivable. He said he could not push. He said he did not feel in control. He said every lap felt like survival. That is not a normal performance complaint. That is a driver saying the foundation is wrong. And for Red Bull, that is terrifying, because the entire Verstappen era was built on trust. Not comfort, not softness, not an easy car anyone could drive. Trust. The car could be sharp. It could be aggressive. It could punish the second driver. It could look nervous from the outside. But Verstappen understood it. He knew where the grip would appear. He knew how the rear would rotate. He knew how to attack the entry and catch the car before anyone else would dare to commit. That trust made him almost impossible to beat. Now, the RB22 has taken that away. And the moment Red Bull loses Verstappen's trust, it loses the most important performance tool it has ever had. That is the first huge problem. The car is not just slow. It is unclear. A slow car can still be developed. A slow car can still give engineers clean data. A slow car can still tell the driver what it needs. But an unclear car creates confusion. It sends mixed signals. It changes when the team makes adjustments. It reacts too much to small setup shifts. It refuses to give the driver a stable reference. That is exactly what Red Bull has been fighting. In Japan, the team brought a major aerodynamic upgrade package, the kind of package that should have started the recovery. Suzuka was supposed to be the place where Red Bull found direction again, a circuit that rewards high-speed confidence, stable aero, and a driver willing to commit. Instead, the updates made the problem worse. The RB22 became too sensitive to setup changes. Both Verstappen and Hadjar struggled through medium and high-speed sections, and Verstappen qualified 8th, then finished 8th. That result told Red Bull something brutal. The car was not only behind, the development path was uncertain. A team can accept being slow if the upgrade direction is right. That means the concept is alive. The engineers know where to add performance. The driver can feel progress. The factory can keep believing. But when an upgrade makes a car harder to drive, the entire project starts to shake. Because now the question is no longer, how much performance can we add? The question becomes, do we even understand what the car wants? That is a much darker question. And Verstappen's comments after China made it even harder to ignore. He said they had changed a lot on the car, and it made zero difference. Those words are devastating inside a Formula One garage. Zero difference means the team is pulling the wrong levers. Zero difference means the simulator may not be matching the track. Zero difference means the car's problem is not responding to normal solutions. Zero difference means the driver cannot build confidence because every change feels like guesswork. That is how a technical crisis becomes psychological. The driver begins to doubt the car. Then the driver begins to doubt the fixes. Then the driver begins to doubt the direction. And once that doubt enters a relationship between Verstappen and Red Bull, everything becomes more dangerous. Because Verstappen is not just another driver on the payroll. He is the center of Red Bull's competitive identity. The team built around him. The setup philosophy evolved around him. The development direction often matched his ability to live with sharp front end and a nervous rear. The pressure he put on teammates became part of the team's internal reality. But the RB22 is not giving him the old weapon. It is forcing him to survive. And survival is not domination. That is why the early results look so shocking. 6th in Australia, a retirement in China, 8th in Japan, 5th in Miami, a podium in Canada, another retirement in Monaco, 4th in Barcelona. There are moments of recovery there, but not a title campaign, not a Red Bull title campaign, not a Verstappen title campaign. This is a champion collecting damage while trying to understand why the car beneath him no longer behaves like a Red Bull. And the numbers make it worse. By Barcelona, Verstappen had only 55 points from 7 races, 7th in the Drivers' Championship. For a driver who had won the previous 3 championships in dominant fashion, that is not just a slow start, that is a collapse in competitive reality. Red Bull can point to improvement, and to be fair, there has been improvement. Miami was better. Canada brought a podium. Barcelona was more respectable than the disaster of the opening races. But the trap is that improvement from crisis can look bigger than it really is. Going from terrible to decent is not the same as becoming a championship contender. That is the second huge problem. Red Bull is not chasing one team. It is chasing 3. Mercedes is the benchmark. Ferrari is faster. McLaren is faster. Red Bull itself has publicly accepted that it is the 4th team. 4th is a brutal word for a team that used to control Formula One. 4th means your upgrades do not only need to catch the leader. They need to jump 2 other rivals before you even reach the car you truly want to fight. 4th means strategy windows shrink. 4th means clean air disappears. 4th means Verstappen spends more time in traffic, more time defending, more time fighting cars he used to leave behind in the opening laps. And once Verstappen is trapped in traffic, every weakness becomes more visible. An overweight car becomes harder on tires. Weak steering feedback becomes more dangerous in battles. Aerodynamic instability becomes worse when following another car. Poor high-speed confidence costs more when the driver cannot choose his ideal line. That is how a slow car becomes a race day nightmare. The RB22 started the season significantly overweight, around 12 kilograms over the minimum limit. Red Bull reduced that by Miami. But even then, the car was still carrying extra weight. Every additional kilogram costs lap time. It hurts acceleration, braking, tire energy, and direction change. And for Verstappen, that weight is not just a stopwatch problem. It changes the feel of the car. A heavy car reacts slower. It resists direction change. It punishes the tires when the driver tries to force it. It makes the driver work harder for the same lap time. That means Verstappen has to push more just to stay close. But pushing more makes the car's weaknesses worse. That is a vicious circle, and it connects directly to the steering issue. The team admitted both drivers lacked the confidence and feedback they needed. That matters because steering feel is the driver's connection to the car's truth. If that connection is vague, Verstappen cannot attack the corner with the same instinct that made him dominant. He has to wait. He has to second guess. He has to test the front instead of trusting it. And at Formula One speed, waiting is losing. This is why the phrase "every lap is survival" hits so hard. Survival means the driver is reacting to the car instead of commanding it. Survival means a lap is happening to him. Survival means the car has taken away the confidence that separates a champion from everyone else. That is the real performance disaster. Not just a Ford name, not just one retirement, not just a bad qualifying. The disaster is that Red Bull built a car that has made Verstappen feel like a passenger at moments when he should be the most powerful weapon on the grid. And the third huge problem is the timing. This is the first year of a new regulation cycle. That means the mistakes made now are not isolated. They can shape years. If a team begins a regulation era with a strong concept, every upgrade builds from strength. The development curve becomes clean. The data reinforces a direction. The drivers trust the path. The factory works with confidence. But if a team begins with confused concept, every upgrade becomes part repair, part experiment. You are not adding performance to a clear idea. You are trying to find the idea. That is where Red Bull may be. The suspension and aerodynamics are not working together cleanly enough. The car's dynamic response is not harmonized with the load changes from the aero platform. High-speed corners remain a weakness. The revised floor and diffuser did not produce the expected improvement. The team has even discussed further changes to weight distribution. All of that points to a car still searching for identity. And identity is exactly what Red Bull used to have more clearly than anyone. This is why the Ford partnership becomes such a sensitive subject. Because even if the power unit is not the core problem, the timing makes it impossible to separate the public narrative. Red Bull enters its self-built power unit era. With Ford attached, Red Bull loses its competitive position. Verstappen starts attacking the car publicly. The team becomes fourth fastest. The car has reliability issues. The internet sees all that and builds a simple story: Ford disaster. But the truth is more complicated and more painful. The power unit may not be the central failure. The failure is that Red Bull's whole package is not yet working as one. That is much harder to fix than public blame. Because if the engine were simply weak, Red Bull could focus on horsepower, efficiency, deployment, cooling, or reliability. But when the chassis, steering, aero, suspension, weight, and driver confidence are all part of the same problem, the solution requires a complete rebuild of understanding. That takes time. And Red Bull does not have much time. Mercedes is not waiting. Ferrari is not waiting. McLaren is not waiting. The championship is not waiting. And Verstappen, most importantly, is not known for waiting patiently while a team drifts through confusion. That is the tension under everything. Verstappen has given Red Bull glory. He has delivered championships, domination, an era that will be remembered forever. But champions also demand proof. They want to know the team can give them the tools to win again. They want to feel that the project is moving forward, not just explaining why it went wrong.